I'm Patty DiRenzo, and also known as the acrylic blender because of my techniques of blending acrylics to give it the realism that oils do, and that you can also blend and mop with them and glaze. So what I'm going to demonstrate today, we have this picture here called Orchid and Fig, and I'm going to show you how I did this blended background. The acrylics that I use to do this are the Deco Art acrylics, and they're the Traditions Deco Art acrylics. They're a high pigmented artist quality paint that I don't use anything else. So these are my very favorite, and I can't get this particular style that I do with any other type of paint. So are you ready? We'll start and I'll show you the blended background. As you can see here, I have base coated my board with raw sienna. And with this in my instructions, I have here the background values, and I have the light, which is the medium white right here. The medium value, which is raw sienna, and that's what I have base coated this board in, is raw sienna. Then we have the dark, which is burnt umber, and the low dark, which is raw umber. So I've used some straight colors, some straight pigment right out of the bottles here to create a value scale, so there was no mixing with this. So I also have here what is a value placement map, and what this is it shows you where I'm going to put these values. Again, the LT is the light, and that is going to be the medium white. The medium is going to be the same as the background, the raw sienna. The DK or dark is our burnt umber, and the LODK is our low dark, which is the raw umber. So this map here, basically, again, you can see we have highlight, we have medium, we have dark and low dark way down here and up in the corners. So this is what we are going to try to achieve. And it's not going to quite look like this when we finish blending because I put some glazing on top while I'm doing the actual painting of the picture. So don't worry about that. We're going to warm the whole thing up later on. So to get started here, I'm going to take my 3/4 wash low Cornell. It's a 7550 wash brush. Get all the water out of it, and I'm going to moisten my surface with the Deco Art Extender and Blending Medium. What this medium does is it helps the paints move, that you can blend them. It helps them stay wetter longer, and it gives you some control over what you're doing. So I'm making sure I'm getting good coverage here all over my board. Okay, you want to make sure that for a board this size, you at least want to use a 3/4 wash. Even a 1 inch would be better because it's a little larger. And you can see as I'm moving this in all directions, breaking down the surface tension because I want it to lay down and stay wetter longer. Now I'm just going to barely kind of go over it with a paper towel because I don't want it to be soupy, but I want it to be very slick. And when I first put this on, I get a feeling that it is very slick. And as I work it a little bit, I'm going to start getting a little bit of a drag. You can see I'm just blotting here again. Just the slightest little bit of a pull. And what that does is it tells me, okay, the acrylics are ready, or the background is ready to accept the acrylics. Okay, I'm then going to pinch the excess out of my brush. And again, looking here at my value placement map, this is quite a large area. That's okay, because when we're going to stretch it out into the medium value, and then we're going to clean our brush with taking the medium white or the light out of there, putting the medium on, and blend these two values together. So starting with loading my brush here into the medium white. Kind of tap it down on your palette, pushing it into the bristles of the brush. I'm going to start over here up into this kind of upper right hand area, and I'm just kind of slapping it on there. And then I kind of look at the direction or how I am holding my brush to the surface. Okay, here we go. If I do this, you're going to dig holes into the paint. So if I'm laying it, the brush as parallel to the surface as possible, you can see how I'm getting a much smoother application of this medium white in the light value area. Okay, I feel I've put it on good enough here. So this is where I'm going to take my brush and wipe it into my paper towel. I'm then going to take this same brush, no water, and I'm going into the medium, which is the background color, raw sienna. This is our medium value. And I'm going to lay this on here, and it's okay if I have some streaks in there, no problem. What I'm saying is streaks of the white, because we're going to blend these together afterwards. So as you can see, I'm putting on this application of raw sienna all the way around the light value. And I just wiped my brush because I wanted to get a little more of that medium white out of there. Just blending all the way around. And again, I'll show you how I pull the paint right here. And, you know, just don't be afraid of what you're doing, because if you make a mistake, we can go back over it and blend it again with the same values. What you want to make sure that you try to do is that you're not going to get any ridges of paints. And again, looking at my value placement map here, I'm going to bring this all the way down here. This is quite a large area. I'm now going to rinse out my brush in water, and I use this little Low Cornell water basin. I really like it. And the only time I use water is to clean a mistake up off of a surface, or if I got some on the table here, or to clean the pigment out of my brush. And once I have done that, I blot all the water out of it. I put my brush into the extender, and then I pinch wipe it very well into a paper towel. So now I have a brush that is basically dry, but for a minute amount of extender in it. And I'm going to walk or blend these two colors together, these two values, the light and the medium value. Okay, here we go here. You can see I'm kind of doing large sweeping area, and it's okay to go right over the whole area and start blending it a little more here. Just keep working it side by side, and then you can get to a point you can go over the whole area. And this will take just a small amount of the raw sienna over this medium white area. Okay, I'm going to pick up some more raw sienna and put it into the medium area, walking it just to where I have blended it. There we go. So I just keep blending between raw sienna and the medium white. I'm going to wipe the color out of the brush, and I'm going to use this to go back over this area again. So not only do I rinse out the brush sometime if I have a lot of pigment in there, but I'll also wipe it into a paper towel. Because I don't have a lot of pigment here, I can wipe this into a paper towel, and that suffices for me. Okay, going over this now again. Okay, I'm going to pick up again a little more to keep the moisture or the background wet. I'm going back now into the raw sienna, and now I'm going to pick up some dark, which is the burnt umber. And I'm going to be, as I load this, I'm going to kind of side load this right here, and then tap my brush down this way and this way, back and forth. And now I'm going to add this burnt umber into the corners. There we go. I'm going back into this little pile just again to pick up a little bit of this burnt umber, same side of the brush. It's kind of a corner load here, and I am putting it again now onto the right hand corner. There we go. Now I will do a full load of this burnt umber, and I'm going to walk it on the far left hand side and down towards the bottom. And again, we are following around here with this value placement map. Okay, now I've added this in here, and I want to go back and wash the pigment out of my brush. Pinch wipe it into a paper towel, extender, pinch wipe it again, and I'm going to go back and pick up some of the raw sienna right here where it meets, and then help blend these together. Wipe the brush, picking up some more raw sienna. There we go. You have to have, one of the, I think the hardest things learning with acrylics is that we have been taught to use very small, light coats, giving it several coats and letting it dry in between. This, you have to have enough paint on the surface in order for the two values, or the two values of paint to blend back and forth with each other. So again, you see how this is a little harsh here? So I'm going to go back, I went back into the raw sienna, and that's okay if I get a little bit of the dark there. Okay, here we go. Okay, now I'm going to walk this down. Clean my brush. There's a little bit harshness here, so that I'm telling myself that needs to have a clean brush, not more paint. So water, pinch wipe, extender, pinch wipe, clean brush, come back in and soften this blend. Soften this blend down here and over here. Okay, now the last value is the low dark value. That is the burnt umber. And again, I'm loading just a little bit into my brush, holding it flat down towards the bottom. As you can see, you want to get it fairly dark. We're going to have a shelf that goes here that we're going to paint, but it needs to be fairly dark down into this area. And that's the darkest value, the low dark, which is raw umber. Okay, and it asks for a little bit of low dark up in this upper left-hand corner. And I have it right here on the value placement map. Okay, I'm going to clean my brush out again. Let's get a clean paper towel here. That one's getting a little soggy. Pinch wipe it, extender, pinch wipe it. Okay, laying the brush flat, feathering the colors out across the surface. Pinch wipe it again. I'm going to do a little softer blend right up here. Now what we need to do is take our mop, and starting out in the lightest area, so right here where the warm white is, I am staying into the warm white area, and as I'm looking at that, I'm getting some background coming through, so I want to kind of add some more of this warm white and then maybe lead it out into the raw sienna right there. Another possibility to correct that is, and we might have to do this anyway, is that I might have to add another layer in blending this background. In other words, what I'll do is after I've done all this blending is I will do it, let it dry it with a hair dryer, and then repeat these steps all over again. Now, if I want to go back into the light area and blend some more, you can see that I have a lot of pigment on that brush. And if I touch it down, that's where the pigment will stay on the surface. So instead, what I do, let me clean out this brush here. Is I'm going to put some extender onto a paper towel. Then I'm going to take my brush and rub it into that extender, and this will help remove that pigment out of there. Then I'm going to take it onto a drier portion of paper towel and take that off of there. And that way I can go back in here and not have a big deposit of paint. Okay, here we go, and I can tell it's starting to dry on me a little bit here, and that tells me I really probably need to stop, finish drying it with a hair dryer, and then repeat these steps. So give me a minute here, and I'll be right back after I dry this. Okay, I dried my board with a hair dryer, but anytime you dry the board with a hair dryer, you need to make sure it is totally back to room temperature and cool before applying any of the DecoArt extender or paint. If it's the slightest bit warm, it's going to start to cure it and it will tack up and your paints won't move with the extender. So I've put it back on here again, just how I did before, all directions, until I get a little bit of a drag. Wipe my brush, again back into the warm white, and I will put this on here now. And again, look at the position of my brush. It's as parallel as you can possibly hold it to the surface. And you get a little bit better coverage with this second application. Okay, wipe the brush again. I'm going to side load into the raw sienna. And continue to blend all the way around. Notice how often I come over here and load my brush with paint. There we go. Again, you need to be mindful that you are picking up a lot of paint because that's what we're blending into, wet paint into each other. The warm white into the burnt sienna, and then we're going to do the, not burnt sienna, excuse me, raw sienna. And then the raw sienna into the burnt umber. Okay, I want to refine that a little bit better right now. I'm going to wipe the pigment out of my brush and come back over here. And again, I'm going to pull a little bit of this raw sienna into this warm white. There we go. Working it all the way around. And now I'm going to go over it just a little bit here. Soften that out. Blending all the way around and at times going clear over the medium white on there. Okay, I'm going to pick up a little more raw sienna now. And I'm going to walk it into the corners here. Walk some down at the bottom. There we go. Now this blending isn't absolutely smooth. You want to have a little movement in it. And I'm starting to feel it dry. So now I'm going to clean out my brush again because it's dragging on me. I'm going to pinch it into the paper towel, put it into the extender, pinch wipe it again. And having just that minute amount of extender in the brush that I put into the extender and then pinch wipe it was enough for me to get the paints moving again, to get rid of that where it was too dry to blend. Okay, here we go here. A little bit over here. Okay, now I'm going to side load into the burnt umber up into this corner again. Just everywhere that I went before, I'm doing the same thing. Some over in this corner, and a little bit across the top there. Then a good load down at the bottom and walk it back up into the raw sienna. I'm going to wipe my brush again and get the raw sienna right here where they are coming together. And that again, I feel like I have too much burnt umber there, so that tells me go back into the raw sienna and go back over it. So what you're doing, you're going back and forth between each paint, blending them together. Bring it around there. Burnt umber again, I'm going to take the burnt umber from the very bottom, bringing it up to meet the raw sienna. I'm going to wipe my brush again, extender, wipe it, take a minute corner load. You can see I'm just taking the corner load right there. That is the raw umber. And we have some up in this corner right here. Then I'm going to do a full load and go to the very bottom and work it back up. Clean my brush out. Extender, pinch wipe. I took that raw umber a little too far, so I'm doing that. I'm coming back into the raw sienna and patting a little more in there. There we go. Okay. Again, I am now back to my brush. It's cleaned. I put it into a little extender to take the pigment off, and then onto a dry paper towel. And this is where we're going to start moving the paint again. Soften this corner nicely. am taking a little bit of the raw sienna and trying to tone down the light area or the medium white area. Realize with this brush I'm not pouncing up and down like this. I am actually brushing back and forth, keeping the brush straight up and down through all the values. Right here I need to really soften this area down. Look at, I'm kind of doing some cross blending here. Again, this is with Low Cornell's number 1 inch Maxine's mop. Again, if you get a little hair, you just take it like that and lift it right out, or a little impurity. Gonna clean the brush again a little bit into some extender. Just about done here. Once more in the center, just to soften this out. And there we have it. We have a blended background. Realize this is just the starting point, that we're also going to add some glazes on here. We're going to deepen this afterwards. This is where I want you to get to. And then when you're at this point, you're going to put the pattern back on and you're going to base coat all of the elements and the medium values. So thank you for joining me, and that's all for today.